state's primary negotiator on Colorado River interstate matters. And as part of that role, I get to help on Colorado's side of implementing the System Conservation Pilot Program. I also have a few members of my team joining today: Emily Zemak, Brian McPherson, Michelle Garrison. So they're all here today as well and helping support the SCPP effort in Colorado. And I also want to introduce Brenna Mefford with the Wilson Water Group, who is acting as a consultant for the Upper Colorado River Commission and implementing System Conservation Pilot Program. So she's going to talk a little bit today after I kick things off about how to apply for the System Conservation Pilot Program and some of the important details just about how it's being implemented. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. So I thought it would be helpful today to start at the beginning and just talk about what System Conservation Pilot Program is for those who might not know about it. And I apologize, I know that this is old information for some, but again, I think it's just really important to be very clear about what SCPP is. So System Conservation Pilot Program provides an opportunity for Upper Basin water users to get paid to reduce their consumptive use on a temporary and, of course, voluntary basis. The purpose of the System Conservation Pilot Program is to mitigate the impacts of drought in the Upper Colorado River Basin. And, for those who have been around SCPP for a while, you know this, but System Conservation Pilot Program was actually previously operational in 2015 through 2018, took a little break, and then got started again just last year. And this is the second year implementing it this go around. Oh, and I apologize. I just need to admit a few people from the waiting rooms. Give me just 1 second. All right. Sorry about that. Again, it's always fun to have technical difficulties, and Zoom can be a challenge. So appreciate your patience. So how did we get here? Why are we doing SCPP again? Well, as many of you are well aware, a year ago, a little over a year ago, the reservoirs like Powell and Lake Mead were hitting critical elevations, and the Bureau of Reclamation was looking for solutions and ideas to come up with 2 to 4 million acre feet of conservation to help protect critical elevations at Lake Powell and Lake Mead. So, we know in the Upper Basin that our options for dealing with that are really limited. Our water users are already really cut back due to hydrologic shortages, legal shortages, but we thought that it would be beneficial to come to the table with solutions that would work for us in the Upper Basin, however limited they might be. So as part of that effort, the Upper Division states came forward with a 5-point plan. And this slide just kind of outlines the key elements of that 5-point plan. And one of them, of course, is System Conservation Pilot Program. So recognizing that there's no way, again, for the Upper Division states to save the system, we still wanted to do our part. And part of that we saw as re-initiating the System Conservation Pilot Program. So again, SCPP was previously operational in 2015 through 2018. Now we have this opportunity to fund it through the Inflation Reduction Act. So set the program up again just last year. And I want to talk a little bit about how things went last year. And I want to own the fact that it was a challenge for a number of reasons. And when I think about why it was difficult, I think it starts with timing, really. Last year, we didn't get the reauthorization from Congress until December 2022. So that put us in a real crunch to set up a program that was perfect in every way in that time frame. So we did our best. We quickly rolled it out, and set up a program that was, again, limited, but we think showed our neighbors across the basin, showed the federal government that we're doing our best to manage ourselves even in this condensed time frame. So in 2023, across the Upper Basin, there were 38,000 acre feet of water estimated to be conserved. Of that, only 2,500 acre feet came from Colorado. We had 21 participants in Colorado. So as you can imagine, that was a lot of work for not a whole lot of water. And as we're thinking about SCPP this year and this go around, we're thinking a little bit about, how can we do this a little bit differently, maybe to encourage more participation, setting an acreage limit so that we're not looking at a whole bunch of little tiny projects. And really, the bottom line here is how can we do this in a way that makes sense for and works for Colorado water users? So some of the criticisms that we heard last go around were things like, well, what happens to this water? It becomes system water. It goes down to Lake Powell and is subject to release under the 07 guidelines. So what we're really thinking about this year as we embark on SCPP 2024 is how can we address some of those challenges, perspectives, things like that. So the thing I'll start with is actually the last bullet here, which is our focus this year. So we really want to focus on and prioritize projects that support innovative water conservation and help water users develop tools so that they can be more resilient in times of prolonged drought. So that's kind of our overarching goal with how we're going about SCPP this year. But we also are implementing a number of process changes. And again, when I think about why things were so hard last year, I think a big part of it came down to timing. So we addressed that head on. We started the SCPP this year in October. The application window opened a lot earlier, and Brenna's going to talk through exactly, what the application process looks like in just a minute. But a few other things. Last year we really struggled with pricing. It was kind of a reverse auction type of situation, and we found that created a lot of challenges. So what we're doing this year is a transparent, straightforward pricing mechanism, a take it or leave it, if you will. And Brenna's going to talk a little bit more through the pricing as well. A few other challenges that we came across last year and opportunities to do better. We realized we need increased education outreach, hence the webinar that we're having today, and a few other efforts by the UCRC to make sure that we are really giving folks the information that they need to be fully informed of how this process and how this program will work. We are also going to be providing an expanded opportunity for people to provide to review the application materials and provide comments if they'd like. And again, I'll get to more information about that in just a little bit. So these are just a few of the process points that we're doing differently this year. And we really think that, again, doing it earlier will give us a chance to just do things a little bit better. So here's just the timeline that we've been working with. October 27th, the application window opened. Today we're having a Colorado webinar. The UCRC just had a webinar last week, and they're going to have another webinar on December 7th. December 18th is when applications will be due. And then in January, interested parties are going to receive the applications that have been received in Colorado so that they can review those and provide any comments they'd like to provide. February and March, we will be doing our internal review and making decisions on which projects will move forward. And then finally in March, we'll be looking to execute the actual implementation agreements. So this is one point at which I'd like to pause and just remind everyone that Colorado is only one part of this. So you see UCRC's having webinars. The other states will be having webinars about how SCPP will be implemented in their states. But, this is an Upper Basin-wide program. So all the other Upper Division states are also participating. And really what this comes down to is it's a program that's implemented and coordinated through the Upper Colorado River Commission. So although we have some unique issues and process points for Colorado, it's important to remember that this is really a UCRC-run program, and every Upper Division state has their own processes as well. So again, this is just kind of a zoom in on the application timeline, what you can expect as a potential participant in terms of when the applications are due, the review process, and then when people will be notified of actually whether they're moving forward. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Brenna to talk a little bit more through the specifics of how to apply.
Thanks, Amy. So before you even get to where you're ready to apply for it, this year we are requiring that you do a pre-application meeting with us at Wilson Water Group, either with me or one of my coworkers. And basically this is just a chance to talk through your project, figure out some of these details so that when you are filling out the application, you can fill it out with the information that we are looking for and the details that we need to see. So it's really us trying to help you guys out as you're filling out the application to hopefully make it less confusing. We can answer any of your questions, anything like that. So you can call us, you can email us, anything like that. So when you do call us or email us, basically we'll reach out and we'll ask you just a few questions. We're going to ask you the general location of your project. Where are you? What does this look like? Are you an ag project? What type of project are you? Are you looking at basically for those ag projects not fallowing for an entire season or doing some type of different irrigation strategy where maybe you irrigate for the beginning of the year or just for a month and then don't irrigate the rest of the year? Or maybe you're interested in crop switching, going from a higher crop that uses a lot of water down to a lower water use crop. Or do you have storage water that you just want to like leave in a reservoir? Or maybe you're an M&I project. So we'll walk through all those with you guys, or if you want to like talk through what are your options with those, we can talk through them so we can help you make that decision. Then we'll ask, how do you typically get your water for irrigation projects? How do you irrigate your fields? How do you get it from the river to your fields? And then one of the biggest things we'll need is a project map for anyone that wants to participate. So that way we can find your fields or a reservoir location, thing like that. It does not need to be this amazing map. A lot of people just screenshot Google Maps and draw it in. Or we have people, the more tech savvy, that send in like KMZs or shape files. We can make it work. Sometimes we just jump on and people just describe to me where their field is located. That's past this red barn, look for the blue barn, and then I can normally find the field, which is fine too. So we can work with you to make it work. You don't need to go and hire someone to make you a map. And then lastly, we'll talk about what are your goals? Why do you want to participate? How is this program, would it be beneficial for you in 2024? Next slide. So after you've talked with us, we'll go through, then you can go ahead. We'll use that map to basically calculate a conserved consumptive use number for you, which you will need to apply. So that's also one of the reasons you need to reach out for. So once you get to the application part, these are just some of the questions that you will need to be prepared to fill out. You cannot save your application. So once you start your application, be ready to sit there and finish it. You can call us if you have questions, if it's during business hours, of course. And we can help talk you through some of the questions, but this just gives you a quick overview. So project type, I just talked about all the different ones. You'll need to select that in the application. You need to be prepared to have your water rights information. So you'll need all of the upper division states will be reviewing these applications to make sure that the water rights are active and in good standing. We need enough of your water rights information that Colorado's DWR can go in and verify your water rights are real and have been used and are in good standing. So be prepared to have those. We can show you, if you need help finding those, we can try and help you with that as well. You'll need a description of project activities. So we can, when we're having that pre-application call, we can kind of discuss with you what this looks like. But for example, you could be like, I want to full season fallow 80 acres. I plan to close my head gate that's on the river and just not divert the water and leave the water in the river. And that's kind of the information that we need in that. We need to know how we could verify your project activities. We don't want to just pay you for this and then never check in. Could we do a site visit to come see a dry field and that your head gate's closed? Is there accounting available, or can we look on satellite imagery? Any of those are great options, and we're open to anything, but we just need something from you guys of how we can actually do those project activities. Next slide. All right, a couple more application questions. We will need third-party approval if for some reason your project doesn't need permitting or anything like that. The biggest one is if you get shares, if you own shares of water from a water entity, a water users association, a district, a canal company, anything like that, then we will need you to know who you get those shares of water from, and that we will need approval from that water entity for you guys to participate. This can be difficult to get, so we recommend starting really early on this process. From Wilson Water Group, we can help provide information on SCPP to your canal company or your water entity, but it is up to the user to get that approval. And the reason we're trying to do that is we don't want to negatively impact any of these districts, and we don't want to run into a situation where a participant says they can do this, but actually under the water entities bylaws, they can't do it. So we're really trying to work with those water entities to make sure these projects are feasible. There is an upload box on the application where you can put that approval in, or you can email it into the UCRC, or you can have the water entity send me an email saying this person is approved to do this project. But that is a big one. We recommend starting early with your water entity if that's going to be an issue. And then the last question on there that you'll see really is your estimated water conserved. This is where we will go through and calculate your average historical consumptive use based on 2016 to 2023. And we'll calculate that differently depending on your project type, but we calculated the same across all 4 states. And this number you'll need to get from us, and then you'll just have that number and you can fill it right into the box. So you don't need to do any calculations, hire anyone to help you with this process. You can just get that from us. But we will need to provide you with that before you start your application. Next slide. All right, last thing on the application questions. I just want to draw your attention to 4 important questions. So this year, we are having where the Upper Colorado River Commissioners decided to focus in on priorities for SCPP 2024. And they created 3 key criteria. You don't have to select one. There is an option to be NA, but projects that do meet this criteria will be ranked higher. It's demand. One of them is demand management feasibility. Can you help answer demand management questions? The second one is building and supporting water conservation, or building and supporting local drought resiliency. And I can help walk you through when you call what your project, which one of those you might meet. And then we will need you to describe why your project will meet that criteria. Next, you'll need to select your project type, which we've already gone over, and the state where it will be implemented. And those 2 questions will then tell you the price that your project is approved for, and it will open up the other set of questions for you to fill out on the application. So if it looks really short when you first open the application, once you fill out those last 2 questions, it'll open up some more questions for you to fill out.
Thanks so much, Brenna. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about, once you go through the application process, what will it look like on our side when we're reviewing those proposals? And I do just want to take a moment and acknowledge that a lot of the work that Wilson Water Group and Brenna are doing, and the way that application looks different this year and the process we're putting out was to address some of the issues that we had last year, where people were, kind of getting down the path of putting together a proposal, an application, and kind of realizing that, it would have been really helpful if they would have had a better idea of how Wilson Water Group is going about estimating conserved consumptive use. So our hope here is that application process is really going to help our review, but also just help participants have a better idea from the front end without having to hire, expensive folks to help with their engineering and things like that, to help them get a better idea of what we're going to be looking at, what we're going to be looking for, and how the conserved consumptive use will be estimated, which will help inform, of course, whether or not they actually want to participate. So to come back to Colorado's review process, so after Wilson Water Group helps people go through the application process, the application is submitted, we're going to take a look at those applications, and the ones that meet, an initial fatal flaw review analysis will be provided to interested parties so that they can take a look at those applications and give us any comments that they'd like to provide. We've set up a dedicated email address to help us facilitate this. So if you want to be on that list of people who gets the applications and is able to look at them and provide comments, please reach out to that email address listed below, the DNR_Colorado SCPP at state.co.us, which is really long, apologies. But please get on that list by December, or send an email to that address by December 18th. And then you will receive the applications that meet the fatal flaw review, and you can provide comments that you'd like. Another thing is, the applications that we'll be providing to the folks who sign up will be minimally redacted. So all we're going to be redacting is personal identifying information like people's home addresses and email addresses and phone numbers and things like that. So I also want to be clear that as we're reviewing, it will be CWCB staff in addition to DWR staff looking at, does this cause injury to another water user? We want to avoid that. We're not going to move projects forward that would cause injury based on that review. So we're going to be coordinating a lot internally. And we're also going to be coordinating with our partners, the UCRC and the other upper division states to decide which projects to move forward. And then I think I'm going to turn it back over to Brenna to cover pricing.
So last year in 2023, we tried something different with pricing. And as we went through the year and got feedback from all the participants, everyone was very clear that the pricing was very confusing. It was very hard to figure out, as we required like a cost justification and people could submit their own pricing. And pretty much everyone said that was too hard. It was too hard to understand. They didn't know what to even submit. So this year we're changing it up based on that feedback, and we have gone with basically one price per project type per state. And the pricing was developed the same way that it was last year, using Reclamation went and did it, and they used basically a farm budget to figure out the pricing. But we are giving it up front that this is what is being paid per acre foot of water saved. So for Colorado, any agricultural projects where you're fallowing, crop switching, trying a different alternative irrigation strategy, it is $509 per acre foot of water saved. So when we give you your conserved consumptive use value, you would multiply that acre foot number times the 509 if you're an ag project to figure out how much total compensation you would be eligible for. And so we have a price per state. If you're a reservoir storage project, which basically means that you are interested in leaving water, or you're going to have your storage water and you're not going to use it, but you're not going to fallow any other land or do anything else like that we could come out and verify, then you would fall in the reservoir storage category and you'd be eligible for the 150. M&I projects we're doing on a case-by-case basis. So there's such a wide range in M&I, which stands for municipal and industrial. We have just such a wide range between what, is it an industrial private company or a municipality? And so we're going to do those on a case-by-case basis and work with the M&I to figure out what that pricing would be. So that's the main part in the pricing and why we've gone down to this year. So it's basically kind of a take it or leave it. If this works for you, that's great. You should go ahead and apply. If this number doesn't work with you, the numbers are set this year with these values based on each state. If you have questions on what you're eligible for, like difference between reservoir and fallowing project, reach out to us. We'll help you figure it out.
Thanks so much, Brenna. I think that is most of the substantive information that we wanted to share with you today. But a few frequently asked questions, first, if you have any questions about applying process, things like that, UCRC also has a dedicated email address that you can reach out to. And again, the Wilson Water team is really here to help you out. So feel free to reach out to them if you have any specific questions. We also have set up, many of you are probably familiar with our Commissioner's Corner page, but we have more information about SCPP there, and we'll continue to update that. So the other thing is we wanted to go through a few of the frequently asked questions, or questions that we hear a lot or anticipate getting, things like that. I also wanted to let you all know that we will have an opportunity for you to ask questions at the end of this webinar. If you wouldn't mind just putting your questions in the chat, and also please add your email address, because what we anticipate is that, we should be able to answer a lot of the questions, straightforward questions, but if we need to coordinate with DWR, for example, or UCRC or others and get back to you, we might have to do that as well. So frequently asked questions. The first one we get a lot is, how is SCPP different from demand management? And it's really how the water is treated. So demand management, the concept there is, again, temporary voluntary compensated reductions in consumptive use that would be used to create a storage pool in Lake Powell that could only be used for compact compliance purposes. There's not a demand management program set up in the Upper Division states at this time. The demand management feasibility investigation is still ongoing. So we don't actually have a demand management program or a demand management pool to fill. A system conservation pilot program is different than how demand management would operate, in that water is system water. So it's not going to a protected pool in Powell, it just becomes system water. So as you can imagine, that makes it a little bit less complicated. We're not shepherding the water, the monitoring, verification, the accounting of that water obviously is very, very different. Another question is, how is SCPP being funded? And I think I hit on this briefly earlier, but it's being funded by the Inflation Reduction Act. Minimum acreage to participate, this is something new this year, and the minimum acreage to participate is 40 acres. What do I do if my proposal doesn't fit neatly within the project descriptions? And I think Brenna actually did a great job of really emphasizing that. If you have any questions about how your project may fit in or not, just reach out to Wilson Water Group. Again, they're there to help you, and we want to make sure that they're accessible to people to answer questions before submitting their applications this time around. And finally, how long will SCPP last? I want to be very clear that we only have the federal authorization through fall of 2024. So this is, another 1-year program that we're implementing right now. And that's all the information that we have for you today. Again, happy to take any questions. If you can please type them in the chat and also include your email address. We also have recorded this webinar, so we'll put it up on our website. But we're always here for you too. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. You can email me directly. You can email that SCPP email address, which I can drop in the chat. But please don't hesitate to reach out anytime. So with that, I think I'm going to stop. Oh, I did stop screen sharing and check the chat for any questions we might have. You guys are an easy crowd today. I'm not actually seeing anything. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Another thing I want to say is that if you know a particular group or people who you think would benefit from hearing this information, would benefit from a more personalized presentation, please reach out and let us know. We've been trying really hard to get out across the state to talk about SCPP and all the other Colorado River things going on. And if you have a suggestion for us, or people that, again, would benefit from this information, please do not hesitate to get in touch and let us know about that. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate your time today, and hope to talk to you soon. Thanks, bye.